Hello, it's Daniel Mercurio, and I am so excited to be doing your family chart reading for Madison, Jason, and Libby. So before we move into this content, I recognize you may be listening on a walk or in your car, but if it's possible, I always like to center in. It allows me to tap a little deeper into our experience together, and it gives you a moment to check out of your day and open up into our experience. So if it's possible, wherever you are, just mindfully giving yourself some permission to shift. Shift from wherever you were before you hit play, whatever you have to do later, and fully allowing yourself to be in this experience together. If it's possible, you can close your eyes or just take a few deep breaths, letting the air move in through the body, no rush, and then just letting it go. Every exhale, releasing, letting go, opening up. And just continue this cycle of breath, breathing in and breathing out, thinking about your family, your little one, as we open up into divine guidance around your charts, your connections, and what's possible. And just take a nice deep breath in and out. And if you had your eyes closed, you can go ahead and open them. And then we'll move into our dynamic. So to start, I want to start with Libby. So essentially with astrology, the way that it works, if you've never had a session before, we're working with a Western astrology, and we are working with the zodiac wheel, with the first sign being Aries. And then after Aries, we move into Taurus and Gemini and so on until we move all the way to the end of Pisces. And these 12 signs make up the zodiac wheel, and it's a 360-degree wheel. And we like to imagine that the zodiac wheel lives underneath the solar system. And so every day, the sun, the moon, and all of the planets move around this game board, the zodiac wheel, at different paces. And so to get a birth chart, what we're doing is we're going back to the day that you were born, back to the moment you took your first breath, back to the hospital where Libby was born, and we are taking a screenshot of the planets on top of that zodiac wheel. And that image becomes the birth chart, which then lets us see what planets were in what sign, at what degree, and what positions they make to each other. And then, after we're done looking at an individual chart, we'll flush up the charts together so we can see where there's similarities, where there may be contrast, where there could be areas to grow and further connect from. So that's essentially what we're doing in this experience. So Libby, when she was born, very unique. She has a lot of Aquarian in her chart. So she was born on January 25th. Of 2020, and the sun was in Aquarius, the moon was in Aquarius, and Mercury were all in Aquarius. And so the sun is who we are by day, the moon is who we are by night, and Mercury is how we think. And so for Libby, she's going to have a lot of Aquarian leading qualities. Aquarian is an air sign, but it's also known as the water bearer. And so essentially the water bearer is this archetype that holds this big jug of water. And it's believed that the water inside the jug is her wisdom, is her resources, is her gifts. And it's very important that when you have a lot of Aquarian in your chart, you're very mindful about how you're distributing your wisdom, your gifts. Some has to be meant for yourself, and some can be shared. And so a big thing for Libby to learn as she gets older is this idea of balance, knowing when it's time to give, when it's time to show up, but also knowing that there's a time and a place to restore, to be alone, to relax. You may find that she already identifies to the water. If that's the case, she's already kind of naturally resourced to the water, understanding that water is how she can decompress, how she can relax. It's a way that she can just kind of, even when she needs a little time to herself, she'll go take a shower or a bath, and that's her way to reset. So that's very important to note with those Aquarian qualities. It also connects to her 12th house, which is her higher self, her spirituality. So I have a feeling Libby is going to be very smart. Smart from the space of intelligence as we see it within our school system, but also very smart in intuitive ways. So she's going to be the one to ask questions that come from her books and come from her teachers at school, but then also questions that come from almost out of nowhere. There may be questions around, why are we here? Our existence, around the idea of God. And clearly, given whatever you and Jason's nature is around those things, you'll answer accordingly or encourage her to find her own studies, her own resources. But Libby is definitely going to be someone that is going to be very curious, if you're not already picking up on that. Very curious, very open-minded. It's very unlikely that she'll be satisfied with like a very quick answer to things, right? Like, why is the sky blue? And you say, because it is. That likely will not be enough, right? Like, well, why? Because it is, or, so, and it doesn't mean that you have to go down these huge rabbit holes with her, but at the same time, being mindful that when she asks questions, she really wants to know. She's really curious. She's really interested in figuring out the why to things, literal things, and then also existential things as well. And, of course, you'll both be able to meet her where she's at in those ways. Jason, very much so, from having a very open mind around life, showing, I think Libby and Jason will really bond through culture and travel and going to museums, learning about, different people, different places, enjoying different types of food, cuisine. There's a very fun element to kind of the adventurous, educational component when it comes to Libby and Jason. And then when the side that we're talking about with Libby comes to Libby and Madison, it's really cool because I think, Madison, you're going to be really able to come forth and help her with her questions and her inquiries around self-care, around love, around relationships, around finding, when it comes to wellness, like, what is intuitive eating? How can I, what do I want to do when it comes to maybe sports or meditation or moving my body? When it comes to the arts, what is it that I'm passionate about? What is it that, when she has problems with maybe her friends or social dynamics, which not saying that she's prone to, but that's life and growing up, she's going to go to mom, right? She's going to go to mom for the relationships, whether it's friendship or down the road, more of her relationships in dating and romance, also coming to mom when it comes to her body and self-care. So being really mindful when it comes to those things. And then Jason, you're going to definitely be the one to kind of be the guiding force when it comes to how she experiences the world, right? Adventure, travel, education, experiencing different scenarios. A lot of times when she has questions, maybe, it's like, oh, well, let's look into that a little bit more together, or let's see if we can go visit a place like that, right? Like, really being a little bit more active in our inquiries as opposed to it always just being kind of a verbal communication. It's like, okay, well, let's take your questions, let's take your curiosity, and let's go somewhere with it. Let's actually be in real time, be in action with it all. So those are the Aquarian components that are going to be really strong in her chart. Again, the sun is who you are by day, the more masculine qualities, moon, her emotions, how she sits with her heart, who she is behind closed doors, and then Mercury being of the mind. So then when we move into Venus, Venus is our planet of love, passion, creativity. It is our relationship planet as well. And so her Venus is in Pisces. So having her Venus in Pisces, once again, in similar ways, connects with the two of you in the same way her Aquarian does. Now, Madison, Libby's Venus connects to your 7th house, which is all about relationships. It also connects to your North Node in Pisces. So once again, she really is going to want to learn from you when it comes to relationships. She's going to watch you and Jason a lot. She can see how, and it's really interesting, she's very intuitive. A lot of it you're going to find is the inquiry piece, but you're also going to find that she picks up on things and observes things between people. She's going to be able to notice a lot of relational patterns, and she observes them to use that as intel for her own life. So she's very much going to be looking at your relationship to help her identify, what does it mean to be husband and wife? What does it mean to be mom and dad? What does it mean to be in a relationship together? And that's, again, the good aspects and the ones that may be more challenging. She's going to look to the two of you. And Madison, she's going to come to you when she has those questions, when something is weighing on her heart, when, things in relationships don't feel fully in alignment. She's going to come to you with those things. Further, she's going to be someone that likely is going to, I see her, she can really go either way. Like I could totally see her going the athletics route, but then I could also see her going the artistic route as well. She may really lean into things like music and singing. I definitely see her on stage or being seen. Her rising sign is also Pisces, which is how do you make an impression on the world? So it could be through her artwork that's visible to others. It could be through her song. It could be through reciting poetry. There's a lot of creativity within her, and she likes to express either through pen to paper and then expressing that out, or it might be paintbrush to canvas or something of that nature. There's a feeling of how can I take what's inside of me, pick up some kind of tool, whether it be a paintbrush or a pen, and put that out into the world, using my voice, using canvas, using whatever materials might be to showcase what it is that I'm feeling. So I definitely would love for you to also encourage, she has an athletic spirit, so again, I think there will be that movement component, but I think to offset that, I think there's also going to be that strong artistic talent as well, which, Jason, I really want you to encourage her around as well, because I could totally see her, and this might feel like it's getting very down the road, but like in college, post-college, her doing something where she is infusing her career and arts together. And I feel like it's not going to just be like, I'm going to go to Nashville and be a singer. It's a little bit more grounded than that. I think she understands what's practical. She will want to have security in this life. So I don't see her just kind of being like, I'm going to run to Hollywood and be a star. There's more of a feeling of how can I take the arts and move it forward responsibly, whether that be through a nonprofit, whether it be through an art gallery, whether it be through, whatever kind of organizations are more curated, 20 years down the road. So I definitely see her being in a really interesting time, especially in around the time she's post college, and she may do masters. She may continue her studies. I see her maybe being done with education around 2044, 2045. And you might be thinking, oh my gosh, that feels so far away, but we're just looking at the stars and the way things are tracking. So around that time, I feel like there will be movement and momentum around how she can move her artistic gifts forward in a way that also combines her intellect and also combines the part of her that is going to be a little bit of an entrepreneur, definitely wanting to make money. Like, I don't see her as the starving artist. I feel like that doesn't resonate with her. So it's kind of like, what do I need to do to feel secure? How can I make money and be successful while also doing something that I love, something that really speaks to me, something that feels really true to my inner world, and bringing that out. There also could be the component of her being a teacher. It could be art teacher, it could be music teacher. There's definitely an educational component that's also possible. So if that's the case, right, clearly look for those clues. If you're seeing that she's a natural when it comes to one of these areas, encourage it. But also encourage it in a way where it feels like you're co-creating whatever it is together. You never want it to turn into a chore or feel like she's being forced to do something or take it further than what she's comfortable with. It has to be in her own cadence. And there may be moments where she's super all in and hyper focused, and then there may be moments where she's not interested. That's okay, right? Watch the cadence and the regularity, of course, but overall, there might be moments where it feels like she's a little hot and cold with it. That's okay. That's part of her exploring. That's kind of part of her experimenting, especially in her youth. And then more in adulthood, it won't be that fashion as much. But she's also going to want to explore a lot of things. Clearly, she needs to see things through. Right? So she's like, okay, I want to go to art camp this summer. And then she's like, in a month in, like, I'm over art camp. No. You got to finish art camp, right? But there's this feeling of, okay, you can do art camp for this summer. And then next summer you're going to do music camp or you're going to do swimming. Don't look at that as being erratic or being all over the place. It's just how she learns. She likes variety. She likes diversity. And again, it won't always be that way in her life, but growing up is going to be a little bit of an experiment. Kind of circling back to the idea of career, Jason, again, I think she'll really come to you for advice when it comes to finances and, job searches and, kind of what that looks like. I don't know if you have any entrepreneur ties as well, but she definitely is going to look to you when it comes to money, career, making a life for herself. And then, Madison, on the flip side, you're definitely more of the one that she's going to go to: love, relationships, social dynamics. So there's that piece. Now, I touched on this a little bit. Her Mars is in Sagittarius. That's where that energy of kind of maybe hot and cold, or like, let's do this, now let's do this, now let's go over here, might come from. Mars is our planet of how we take action, how we move things forward, are the inertia that we have around it. And her having it in Sagittarius shows that she's going to be interested in a lot of different things, and that's exciting for her. It's exciting to kind of jump around. It's exciting for her to, meet a lot of people. Like I said earlier, she learns from observing, and especially observing people. She is the type of person that I could really see being able to hold her own in any situation, in any dynamic, and also have boundaries of when she feels good about something and when it's time to kind of lean back. Again, Jason, I feel like there's definitely a connection there with your moon in Sagittarius. So your moon is in Sagittarius, and I think once again, she'll kind of want your advice when it comes to boundaries, how she wants to go about doing things. And also too, she's going to come to you when mom's like, all right, no, you got to see this through. And then she's gonna be like, Dad, do I really have to see this through? And you're gonna have to be like, yes, right? Again, you're both going to be kind of adventure buddies together and trying out different things. Madison, her Mars connects to you, to your fourth house, which is home. And so having her Mars, which is how she moves forward, how she's called to take action, connected to your area of home, just shows that there might be, it's okay to have a little bit of an unconventional household, right? Almost like when it comes to things like chores, you create them together for the month. And then next month, maybe her chores are a little different. It's not like your chores are you clean your room every Saturday. It might be this month, every Saturday you will vacuum. Then the next month, every Saturday you will water the plants, right? Having a little bit of an unconventional household in how you establish rules, how you establish discipline, and don't be afraid when she's old enough to have conversations around what that looks like together. Letting her be a part of how she's part of the household, how, what discipline does look like if, she doesn't follow the rules or, something happens. What does that mean to her? Again, you can't just say go to your room because that doesn't mean anything. Everything that you do, there has to be a why behind it. It has to be really intentional. So, let's say something happened, there was an incident at school, you both aren't happy about it. The best thing that you can do is talk to her, see her side, let her share. And then also at the same time, share around, why she got in trouble and what getting in trouble means and what, based on this, what needs to happen? Is there something that she needs to sacrifice because of it? Or is there, again, a discipline that makes sense for everybody. She wants to be involved because it makes her feel like she's heard and she's understood, and she's going to be more likely to participate in whatever maybe the grounding is per se, and less likely to do it again. So that's really important to note with that. Let me just take some water. Okay. So if we move into Jupiter, her Jupiter is in Capricorn. Jupiter is how we make money, how we expand, how we grow in this world. And so she has it in Capricorn, which Madison, she's going to identify with because you have your Sun and Mercury in Capricorn. It's also connected to your 5th house, which is all about passion and creativity. And so having her Jupiter in Capricorn, as well as her Saturn in Capricorn, having her Saturn in Capricorn, just like her Jupiter, that is going to also showcase. Saturn is the planet of rules, leadership, how you want to show up in the world. Having them together shows that, kind of like what I was saying before, when she's an adult, she's going to want to be creative, but she's still going to want structure. She's going to trust the process, but also have security. Having Jupiter and Saturn both in Capricorn in that way is what really solidifies that. She's really going to be someone that leans in on her community, someone that, is resourceful, someone that isn't going to just like drop things or be irresponsible with her money or work for that matter. Now, Jason, your Jupiter is also in Capricorn, and I believe that they might be conjunct. Yes, this is very cool. So when you were both born, Libby and Jason, Jupiter was in Capricorn at 12 degrees. So once again, I had said earlier, she's going to come to you for financial advice. She's going to want to know, the best ways to be resourceful, taxes, all of that kind of stuff. She wants to come to you because, if she wants to invest, if she's choosing to maybe take even a little bit of a risk on something, you're going to be that person that she's going to go to. And then on the flip side, Madison, when it comes to these things, she's definitely going to want to brainstorm with you more around the creation, the building stages of things. I definitely feel like she's going to be the type of person that likes to build things, create things, see things through. And how can you help with that as well? You both might be entrepreneurs, parents. If so, she's going to really identify with that. If not, kind of encourage more of that entrepreneurial mindset around how she wants to move things forward, whether she decides to be, self-employed or, she might work for a startup. I feel like what she's going to do is going to be a little bit more progressive. The only thing that I could see her doing that would be more like quote unquote solid is like working at a school, like being a teacher. But otherwise, she may more likely be nonprofit, art gallery, startup, things like that. And, even kind of starting her own thing. And so Madison, you're the brainstorming, encouraging, and then Jason, you're kind of like the financial piece of it all. So there's that. And then also, of course, Madison, like checking in on her when she is getting, if she does get hyper-focused on career, is she taking care of herself? Like, is she prioritizing? Is she making sure that there's balance? Is she, what does her relationships look like, socially and romantically? Always kind of having those check-ins with her in that way is important as well. Her North Node is in Cancer. Our North Node is all about, what we're here to do in this life, our purpose. And so having her North Node in Cancer, it's a water sign, it does show that she's someone that's going to be a little bit of a homebody, but then when she comes out of her shell, she has so much to give. She has so many gifts, so many different ways to express herself, so many different ways to come alive in the world, and trust that, as much as she gives, it's really important that she also receives. So her North Node in Cancer is connected to her 5th house, which is all about, I mentioned this before, creativity, her artistic side, love, all the things that make us feel alive, that make us feel like, yes, we're here for good reason. Jason, your rising sign is Cancer. So, she looks up to you and the way that she lives her life. She sees pieces of what you do, especially with career. She sees how you live your life with the career. She's seen how you built a foundation. She's seen how you've grown your own ways, and maybe not just in this current reality, but as she gets older, she will see that. So I want you to be mindful of that, right? And welcome her to ask questions. Openly share around what it is that you do and how you show up. She'll really, love and appreciate that. And then, Madison, she connects to you with the Cancer with your 11th house, which is all about, there's a friendship vibe. I think you and her will be good friends. I don't know if you're going to be the Gilmore Girls, but I think there's going to be, outside of mother and daughter, a friendship and a bond and a closeness and an ability to confide in you. She really trusts you. And so building that, right? And knowing when to give her space to go out and do things and try them out. And then also knowing when to, reel it back and trust the process of what's unfolding. That piece is also really important. So there's a closeness there. So that's her North Node. So those were some pieces to note around who she is and how she's showing up, what she needs in her upbringing, and also what it looks like, down the road when it comes to her adulthood. I definitely see her wanting partnership and family. It may be a little bit progressed. It may not be what, happens in her 20s. Hold space for that. I think for her, it's going to be education and career first. And then once she really is in her groove and she has more space to dedicate to a relationship, to a family, she's going to really want that. So don't feel discouraged if you notice that that's not really what she's super invested in her early adulthood, because I have a feeling that, once she gets into her 30s, that's going to be more important. And it's because she has the space and she feels secure and she feels ready for it. It's part of who she is. She definitely came here to accomplish a lot. And the first things she wants to accomplish are more with her gifts and more with her career and more with even her finances, so that then she can really enjoy the partnership and family experience that follows from there. So that's something that, we want to note as well. Likely, she'll have like a unique sense of style, may not want to do what everybody else is doing, yet at the same time loves having friends, right? So she's going to be very social, have a lot of friends, but within that, she's not going to necessarily conform. She's not going to always be the one that's like, whatever the latest sneaker is, she may not need that sneaker. She might be like, I like that sneaker over there, or like this one works better, or whatever it may be, or I want it, everyone's doing it in red, I want it in yellow. So there might always kind of be a little bit of fits in with everybody, but then also kind of has her own unique way of showing up. Even letting her like pick out her clothes, and they might be a little bit wonky when she does, but just kind of going with it within reason, of course, right? It gives her a sense, not just a sense of style, but a sense of identity. She identifies with being unique, because when she's unique, it means that she's exploring, she's satisfying her internal inquiry, she's being curious, she's doing what feels good for her. Also, I imagine very pleasant, very much, again, lots of friends, but also, a little bit introverted at times, probably isn't going to be the class clown, probably isn't going to be the one, that's being loud and disruptive. There's a soft side to her, but also a very bright, bubbly, social one, and she kind of knows how to adapt to her surroundings based on that. She'll probably have a couple of close friends, and then she'll probably just want to be in a lot of different clubs and groups, and just kind of let her bop around and pick and choose as it feels good. Again, when it comes to her questions, have discussions, do things in person. If she wants to know more about bugs, go take a hike and see if you can find some bugs or birds or whatever it may be, right? Or, pull out the computer or whatever it may be. She's probably going to be very, very attuned to the computer, iPhone, technology, whatever it may be. She's likely a natural to it if you haven't noticed already. Of course, have boundaries and give her space to think for herself. But that's going to be something that also is going to be likely very intuitive for her. When it comes to you, Madison and Jason together as parents, you definitely both connect from the space of Jason. His moon is in Madison's fourth house. Moon is the feminine. Who are we behind closed doors? What are we doing at night? Who are the close people in our life? Who do we open up our heart to? And Madison having Sagittarius in your fourth house is like, hey, like, you're my home. You're my family. You're my safe space. And so there's definitely kind of an attraction from that space. Madison, sometimes you might want a little bit more grounding, a little bit more structure, things a little bit more planned or mapped out. Whereas Jason, sometimes you might feel like, well, let's just go with the flow. Let's just do this and then see what happens from there. So just be mindful of that together, because again, Libby's going to pick up on that. She watches you both. She witnesses you both and how you interact. And so if she sees that you both have different styles, you want to showcase how that's a great thing. That, Madison, you are the grounded one. You do kind of have everything in order and everything lined up. And, there is a system for everything. And then she gets to see that on the flip side, Jason kind of does things a little bit more openly. And, while there is a need to have a foundation, it's okay to not have everything planned out. So how can you showcase that in a way that, works for the family unit and the family dynamic? I think the three of you will enjoy food together. I think that's another activity that you can all enjoy together. Food, making things, crafts, around the holidays, creating traditions together is going to be really important. Having things that are seasonal is also really important, because she'll remember those things and identify with them and enjoy them and want to, they'll be part of her memories. Cooking together, creating holiday traditions, going on trips together. So there's that piece that bonds you all together. And then also, let it be fun and silly at times, but also deep and soulful. I'm not sure what your relationship with maybe religion is, but instilling some sort of spirituality in Libby's path would be really great, whether it be going to kids yoga, a little bit of meditation, if there's any books or resources that you identify with, music. I would love to see you share that with her as well, because that's going to be something that she's going to want. She already naturally feels very connected to the world and the universe, and so anything that can help bridge that gap and show like, hey, I see you. We see you in this, and we want to gift you this, or we want, things to go this way is really important. So I like that dynamic for you both as well. So again, I think, Madison and Jason just continuing to work together as a unit, have grace for each other in moments where maybe there's a little bit of friction or maybe not seeing eye to eye on things. Remembering that I think what's really great for your relationship grows because of Libby. I feel like Libby is this really cool connector in strengthening the bond that both of you have, and remembering the fun and the ease and the spontaneity, yet also the cohesive foundational nature of the life that you're building together as well. So that's also a big piece. So I hope that this gave you more insight into Libby, more insight into your dynamic together. If you have any follow-up questions, please let me know. Keep me posted on the journey. If anything clicked or landed, just give me a reply, and I'm happy to respond more from that space. And thank you so much for allowing me into your world in this way.